latest. Oh, and by the way, I know Hegseth's already been confirmed, 50-50. And then J.D. Vance, this Trump's fucking pet ape, he steps up and breaks the tie. And Hegseth is now Secretary of Defense. What was one of his first actions? He told General Mark Milley, retired chairman of the Joint Chiefs, that he, Mark Milley, is now going to lose his security detail. His security clearance has been revoked. And Hegseth ordered an inspector general inquiry into Mark Milley's record. Huh? A spokesman for this little Nazi fucker, Pete Hegseth, some idiot named John Uliat, said in a statement that Hegseth directed the investigation to determine whether, quote, it is appropriate to review the rank upon retirement for General Milley. End quote. Now, you remember what Milley did. He stood up to the Orange Vomit in the Orange Vomit's first term. Essentially, what Hegseth is asking is whether or not it is legal for General Milley to be demoted. A spokeswoman for the acting Defense Department Inspector General said of the referral to examine Milley's actions when he was chairman, she said this, quote, we have received the request and we are reviewing it, end quote. Now, Milley retired in 2023. If you remember his retirement speech at a ceremony marking the occasion, he told the troops present that they took an oath to the Constitution and not, quote, to a king or a queen or to a tyrant or dictator. And we don't take an oath to a wannabe dictator, end quote. The reference clearly being this filthy fucker who's now the president. And senior Pentagon officials yesterday, who now know who the new boss is, they tried to cast General Milley as an insubordinate political operator while he was chairman of the Joint Chiefs. This is how careers, reputations, and eventually people are destroyed in a fascist state. Stalin did it. Hitler did it. Mussolini did it. Trump's doing it. Franco did it. This is what dictators do. You fuck with me, when I get power, I will literally strip the goddamn skin off your bones, which is what Trump is trying to do. In a statement yesterday, Joe Casper, who is this prick Hegseth's chief of staff, he issued a statement, and it said this, quote, undermining the chain of command is corrosive to our national security, and restoring accountability is a priority for the Defense Department under President Trump's leadership. These miserable bastards. And the Times reports that Milley could not be reached for comment yesterday after this shit hit the fan. And just a few days, if you remember, this is Trump. This is the seesaw that you hear about in my opening music. Now, this is a seesaw. Just a few days before Milley's retirement ceremony, this orange fuckwad, Donald Trump, who was still planning a political comeback, he hadn't been elected yet, but he suggested that General Milley had committed treason and should be executed. Yeah. What Hegseth, a junior ranking officer, what he has done to a 4-star general, combat veteran, chairman of the Joint Chiefs, now retired, Hegseth being the little worm fucker that he is, the little white racist Christian nationalist that he is, and now Trump's the boy to destroy the U.S. military readiness, he has ordered that General Milley lose his security detail, General Milley no longer has a security clearance. And this little rat fucker, Hegseth, has ordered an inspector general inquiry into General Milley's record. Now, of course, it was just the other day when Trump signed an executive order saying we're going to get rid of all the inspectors general. Well, not so fast, right? And this is why, remember the preemptive pardons that Biden issued, what was it, 10 days ago, 2 weeks, Jesus Christ. Preemptive pardons, he issued one to General Milley because of these threats of retribution by this orange piece of human shit, Donald Trump. And in his first week back in the White House, I remember reading this. This was just so petty, but it's so goddamn Trump. Trump had the general's portrait removed from the hallway in the Pentagon outside the office of the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, which is traditional. You put the former general's pictures up. Now, once Trump dies and his body is rotting in some shithole like Rush Limbaugh's is, then I'm sure that picture will go back up. But this is how Trump adds insult to injury. So the truth is, and this is why Biden issued the preemptive pardon for General Milley, since he has been pardoned, he can't be dragged out of retirement and court-martialed, which is what Trump threatened. However, if Hegseth and the rest of these fuckers come up with a finding against him, that could lead to a decision to reduce his rank, even in retirement. Now, are the military, are the ranking military officers in the Pentagon, the career officers, are they going to allow this to happen? You know, this is one more thing that I question. At what point does the United States military take a stand and say, no, fuck no more of this shit? I mean, where, when does that happen? They're going, I don't know Milley's relationship to the rank and file. I don't know what it was to the officer corps or to the junior officer, senior officer. I have no idea. But he was the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. And as far as I know, he served honorably, given what that position requires. So now Trump and this little prick Hegseth are trying desperately to not just destroy him in his retirement, they're leaving him open to assassination squads by Iranians, right? Of course. Or anybody else who might want to take a shot at the former chief. This is what the Trump filth, scum, this is what they do. So at what point will the military commanders who are still being very silent about this, of course it just happened 3 days ago, right after this little prick Hegseth was confirmed as Secretary of Defense, when are the military officers going to speak up? When are they going to encircle General Milley, and make it clear that an attack on him would be an attack on them? Now, the General Milley and other former Trump administration officials had been assigned government security details because they remain under threat following the Trump-ordered drone strike that killed the Iranian General Soleimani, remember that, in early 2020? And after that happened, Trump strutted around the barnyard like a little cocky rooster with his chest puffed up and so on and so forth. Filthy bastard. 2 Republican Senate allies of this orange son of a bitch, Senator Tom Cotton, who I affectionately call Ichabod Crane because he looks like him, and Lindsey Graham Cracker, respectively, senators from Arkansas and South Carolina, these two urged Trump 2 days ago to rethink his decision to strip the security detail away from General Milley. One of the reasons is, in addition to the fact it would be a direct threat to General Milley, but there are other former advisors, military and non-military, who've been targeted by Iran. And the two Christian fascist fuckers in the U.S. Senate, Ichabod and Lindsey Graham Cracker, they have said that the decision to strip security details from these folks might chill anybody else who the aides of these people, all these people who have been stripped of their security clearance. The aides could now step up, you might say, and have the targets on their backs. So the point here is there are so many senior ranking military officers who must understand this. If I understand it, I'm sure they understand it. And that is, they have two choices now. They can shut up. Not that military officers are supposed to speak out politically, but I mean they can shut up by their actions and continue to offer up verbal blowjobs to this son of a bitch Trump, or they can resist. Now, I never thought about ranking military officers in the United States military to be cowardly little shits. No, seriously. Regardless of my views on war and how disgusting the whole enterprise really is. But the people who have been in positions of military power, the ones we're all familiar with, whether it's Eisenhower, MacArthur, whoever, but I've never thought of them as being cowards. MacArthur even went so far as to challenge, I think it worked this way, Harry Truman back in the day, and Truman had to fire him because MacArthur had insisted that it might be a good idea to drop a few nukes on communist China. Which would have been madness. Of course, it would have been madness, not to mention the wholesale slaughter of Chinese people. But the people who are now serving in the United States military under this little prick Hegseth and his master, Donald Trump, those ranking military officers definitely have a choice to make. They can either shut their mouths and continue their careers, knowing that they're working for a dictator who is slowly undermining and destroying the Constitution that they took an oath to protect and defend against domestic enemies. They know that. So these ranking military officers can just shut up and go about their business and wait for Trump to provoke some incident where the use of the U.S. military may be required, or they can take a stand. How do they take a stand? They can come public about what is going on in this country while they are officers. I don't think the Uniform Code of Military Justice prohibits that. And Trump would immediately fire them, but then, of course, the American public would understand in a very clear and definite way what is going on, where it concerns Trump's and Hegseth's absolute corruption of the U.S. military. I mean, Jesus Christ, do you understand what's happening? I keep saying that. I'm sorry. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. You know, the Progressive Voices Network brings you commercial-free commentary from today's leading progressive radio hosts and pundits, like me, Mike Malloy, 24 hours a day. I'm not your typical old guy from the 80s or the 90s talk radio host, and Progressive Voices is not your typical talk radio network. It's a listener-supported nonprofit with no corporate control whatsoever over our broadcast. So hosts like me, Mike Malloy, are free to rant and scream and carry on about whatever we like. We're often controversial, but we're never boring. Weeknights, 9 p.m. in the East, 6 p.m. in the West on the Progressive Voices Network. Always progressive, always on. I'm Mike Malloy. Keep it lit.